What's up, Planco fans? I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Michael.
And you're watching M&J Games. Today we are touring Oak Ridge Valley by TSM underscore fighter 10. They didn't give much of a description. They just said realistic park.
Let's get in flip cam mode because what we're going to do, and I've started doing this some, but I found a different way to try to make this a little bit better, is we're going to walk around in flip cam mode, and I've pre-edited or recorded the details of riding the rides and talking about the rides and stuff, and so we're just going to walk around the entire park in flip cam mode, and this person looks stuck.
She is stuck.
Okay. So let's do this real quick, and then we'll get started.
Do you know, does it have to be in all caps when you're putting that in?
Yeah, it does. Because I know somebody told me it doesn't, but when you don't put it in all caps, it just takes you to the view of that particular person.
Okay.
So I'm going back here because I want us to kind of see the entrance of the park from a guest point of view. So here we go. And remember, this is modeled after Silver Dollar City and Dollywood, which is a very kind of foresty, just natural woods type, right?
Sort of country, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely country, a lot of western style, but a lot of trees, a lot of foliage. All right, so what are your first thoughts here, initial entrance?
I do like the mix of the brick and the wood. This is interesting, having the dark gray and that sort of reddish with sort of orange undertones on that brick.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I might just have like a little more detail, kind of where the different building styles are to kind of separate them. Would be my only suggestion. Some kind of like a little trim or something.
Okay.
But yeah, right away, I mean, you know, very open. Oh, that's a really cool look as we see the coaster going over the top of the hill right there.
Yep.
That is
good sight lines.
Yeah, really good sight line. And you can kind of see. Is that another coaster right there?
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's go up these stairs. And this one thing that's cool about flip cam mode is you can only walk where the guests walk. Okay, so this looks like this is just for the train station. Yeah, oh, okay, that's a flat ride right there. Yeah, so really cool little covering for the train station. And we'll definitely take a little walk around that train at the end or on the track to kind of see some of the views, because it's really seems like it's gonna be really cool. But I love kind of right when you walk in, you've got these massive stairs. They're kind of like, you don't see that too often, so it's kind of almost like majestic stairs in a way of like, what's that lead to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've already noticed is look at the terrain paint that he's used, or that this creator has used. Like, it's not just your normal coloring. It's kind of that it's grassy, but it's also kind of drier grass, so it's kind of that brownish look. I think it really fits with this style.
Yeah.
So let's go left, since we always go left. And first thing that we come to looks like we've got ourselves a wooden coaster. And it is called Trident. So right away, I mean, you can see that lift hill right there. It looks really nice. So let's go through the queue, and we'll kind of walk through some people. So does anything stand out to you here as we're walking through the queue?
I'm just taking note of the scenery because, you know me, I do a lot of flowers, but this is interesting, having a very limited amount of flowery type bushes, but it definitely fits with the rustic sort of theme, and really good job.
Yep, for sure. And so as you can see, we're just walking up to the station. This is nice, well done. There's a little bit of clipping, but that's so hard to avoid sometimes. But yeah, this is a nice station that really fits the wooden feel and style. So let's go ahead and walk across. And let's ride, was it Trident?
Yeah.
Let's ride Trident. Alright, so while we're going up this chain, let's look at these stats. So as you can see, max speed 55, biggest drop 97 feet. So I put it in feet instead of meters when I was working on the last park, so that's why stuff might be a little different. G-forces look good. So now let's ride this in front bumper view. Enjoy Trident. All right, there we go. So what were your thoughts about Trident?
I really liked it. I liked how it kind of turned in on itself. And it actually
Talking about
seemed
over here?
really, yeah, it actually seemed really smooth for a wooden coaster. So, really nice design. Yeah, I really like those hills.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if this creator used the 4 meter method at all or anything like that, because it was a super smooth ride. I think this one is because, like we said, this park is, or like the creator said, this park is inspired by Silver Dollar City and Dollywood, which are both very similar style parks. I haven't been to Dollywood yet, but I know they've got a wooden coaster called, I think it's called Thunderhead. I could be wrong with that. So this, to me, from what I've seen from the POV, seems to be inspired by that type of ride. But as you can see, love the kind of path interaction here. I know it doesn't go right up against the path, but as you can kind of see, it's still just a great view right here. You know, if you're a guest walking on that path. Yep. So any other comments on this or any other things that you noticed?
Nope.
All right. So let's get back in flip cam mode. All right, guys. So as we talked about before, I mean, really enjoyed that ride. You'll see kind of some of the sight lines too as we kind of move on down the path. But I think there's a water ride here that we might have missed.
Yeah, the log flume.
Yeah, log flume. So this is, I mean, I kind of like how this is elevated too. You don't really see that with water rides too often, that high off the ground, but it makes it kind of seem like it's big, right? And something you're kind of looking up to, which is nice. So Choppers Creek. Yeah, I mean, the foliage in this is already really nice. I mean, that must have taken some time. Yeah, so that's a good look at that grass I was talking about, where it's still grass, but it's kind of that dry grass terrain paint.
Can you zoom back out to the yeah, so this little guy here, I didn't know you could change the color like their outfits.
Yeah, oh gosh, I know Iron Matty did that in his most recent, like his Unrealistic Park. He changed all his employees to,
I mean,
like,
I knew
pink.
you could do it on the like station attendants, but I didn't know you could do it on like the ticket people.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it because I haven't tried, but yeah, that's definitely something cool. Yeah, so cool station. You got the corrugated roof. Let's kind of skip over this. Does it allow us to jump? Oh, allow us to go through. Okay. So yeah, here's Choppers Creek. All right, so if we look at Choppers Creek, if we look here at the testing, it's just a basic log flume. So biggest drop 56 feet, which is, I believe, probably pretty standard for log flumes. So it looks pretty good. Max speed 39 miles per hour. So let's enjoy Choppers Creek, and this looks like it's going to be just a beautiful scenic ride. I sometimes struggle to theme, like, I haven't really built too many water rides like this because you really have to theme them. But what's amazing about this one is you didn't have to create a theme because it's in the middle of like wilderness and these woods, to where like the theme is the fact that it's this beautiful foresty park, right? And so it's really kind of a cool setting.
Yeah.
And it's cool too how you build out the little river or creek, and then you put the log flume in it so that it kind of masks itself in the water. All right, so what are your thoughts of Chopper's Creek?
Why don't you tell me your thoughts of Chopper's Creek first?
I mean, I really liked it. I just like because it's just in this nice kind of wilderness setting. Like I said, you've got, oops, wrong camera. Sorry, there we go. So, I mean, it's really not a long one, right? But it's right here in this little area that just makes it feel really secluded from the rest of the park, because when you're down here, you don't see anything other than trees and rocks and this little creek.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love how you built it into this creek area, because then you don't have to put all these rocks and theming around to kind of cover up the entire, whatever the water where this ride's in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, do you know, like, on the big drops, because I haven't built one of these rides before. So yeah, when they do that big drop, is that a special effect, or does it actually make a splash on the ride?
It makes a splash on the ride, because look here. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see. So let's actually click on this. You see how it highlights that whole part?
Yeah.
So that whole part is part of that individual piece of the ride. And so when you're building, at least in my understanding, when you're building a log flume, when you get down to the bottom, you add in kind of a splash zone.
Okay.
And so it's like a special piece that creates that splash.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it is an animation, but it's an animation that's a part of the ride. Like, I think
yeah.
There's like another coaster that has that. There's one or two coasters that have that ability to have something like this.
The water coaster?
The water coaster is one of them. I want to say the Anubis or the dive coaster might, because dive coasters in real life kind of have an area like this where they go over water and it splashes water behind it. But yeah, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's not that large of a ride, but it really felt secluded from the rest of the park. Now, the only thing I would say, I love this little bridge here, but it would have been really cool if there's a way to kind of have a little bridge going over the drop. But with how you have this set up, that's kind of hard to do. And as you can see, I mean, you've got the train right here, which is just awesome.
Yeah, that'll be cool once the train goes by and people on the log flume see it, and very nice.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to either take a ride on the train or else just kind of go around the track. So help remind me on that so I don't forget.
Okay.
Anything else you notice here? Anything about the station?
Yeah, I do really like the station. I never used those
corrugated roofs.
Yeah, I've never used that before, but it fits in with this kind of rustic forestry theme.
Yeah.
So really nice job making that look cool.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It looks like these posts might barely go through just a little bit. Yeah, I agree. It's like this corrugated roof. I don't use it too much, but it totally works with this theme.
And I do like how these exit paths go over. There's like a little sort of bridge that goes over whatever the ride was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely nice. As I said before, it would be cool if it was over the drop, but I understand with where you had the drop located at and everything, that's hard to do. But definitely cool. Oh, I didn't notice that there. I like how you outlined that entire path up there with the wall. So that's a really good job. Alright, so there's another good look at Trident. And like I said, I just want us to walk in Plipcam views. I think this is a really cool way to walk around the park, because ultimately when we create theme parks, right, you're trying to create it realistic for the guest. And so doing it this way, you really get to see, if you were a guest in your own park, what would you see, right? And there's a security guard strutting around. So yeah, so it looks like we got Flat Ride over there. I want us to walk over here for a second so we can get some more views of Trident. So we got another restroom area. I'm trying not to miss anything in this park. But it's really, really cool. Well done. Yeah, so this is where I was talking about some... It's not necessarily path interaction, but you can get some fairly good views here from the path. If only the guests would walk down this way, right? I guess you could put like a vista point or something if you wanted to have some guests kind of standing around looking at it. Oh, look at the little river, the little creek.
Yeah.
Really beautiful, really well done. Hopefully we don't miss anything. Oh, here's Mantum. And so this creator said all his rides, well, I'm guessing all the rides have taken inspiration from another coaster or flat ride in either Dollywood or Silver Dollar City. So now let's go Fast Pass for the sake of time. Once again, nice covering there. That looks kind of like in Powder Keg. There's a covering. Oh my gosh, you got to use the restroom, but you're in line. Whew. All right, so we got a nice little basic entrance here, a nice basic station, and let's go ahead and ride the ride. This one is clearly based, for anybody who's been to Silver Dollar City, clearly based off of Wildfire, and you'll see why. So max speed 63 miles per hour, biggest drop 121 feet, vertical G is a little high, but overall really good. Number of inversions 5, airtime count 3. Alright, so do you want to ride this track view or where we're at?
This is fine.
Okay. Alright, so that was, I think, Mantum, was that right? Yeah, Mantum. And so the reason I said it was clearly based off Wildfire, it's not the exact same, but it's got the same amount of inversions. And this one, Wildfire has an Immelman. This is more like a sidewinder. So instead of going out the way it came, it kind of comes out to the side. But it's got this huge Cobra roll here. You got the loop, you've got the corkscrew. So what are your takeaways from this coaster?
So I did not ride Wildfire when we were in Silver Dollar City, but I did watch it probably 5 or 6 times because Michael went on it twice. I recorded it like 2 or 3 times, so so I am familiar with the ride. This is a very good sort of inspired coaster for it. The only thing that I would say is, to me, it seemed like the Cobra part went by kind of fast because on the actual Wildfire ride, it's actually pretty gentle on that part. I mean, as far as pacing, it seemed it's a lot slower. So that's the only sort of critique that I would have on that. But otherwise, this is a really cool recreation. Yeah, we can see now kind of how it looks when you're off the ride, because everything looks different when you're off it compared to being on it, right? In terms of speed. But yeah, I agree. I thought the Cobra roll went a little quick, which made it a little bit rickety. There are a couple of other areas that could have smoothed out a little bit. But overall, I mean, Wildfire, honestly, is one of my favorite coasters. Yeah, I mean, you probably could have made that a little bit larger, for sure. It's one of my favorite coasters, and it's not necessarily because of, it's the most thrilling ride or anything, but it's just incredibly smooth, especially since it's 20 years old, and then it's literally on a cliff. So it's a lot like this, where you've got, like, the lake. Yeah, there's a lake and a mountain in the background. It's very picturesque.
And, I mean, it is one, I mean, when you're going up that chain, it's like you kind of forget about the fact that you're 150 feet in the air. You're just like, man, this is beautiful. So I thought this is a really good kind of recreation, or not necessarily recreation, but inspired by ride, as Jasmine said. Really good foliage, and you've kind of colored the ground by it too, where the which I think is something that's really good for realism, because usually when you got a coaster track being built there, the grass is not going to grow as well as other areas. So really good job. And let's look at the station real quick in detail. So you use some of the wood and brick that you've been using throughout the park. Only thing I would say is probably continue this either down or kind of...
Continue what part?
This part right here. So, like, you could continue that down and kind of, even if you don't go all the way to the bottom, you could still kind of section out this
Yeah.
Where this coaster is right here. But yeah, I mean, I like the, it's basic, but it gets the job done. Oh, I like how you've got like a little operating booth there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, you probably could add some beams across the top for support, but I mean, that's just nitpicking, right? So, but yeah, so that was Mantum. All right, so let's move on to the next part of the park. And this is kind of cool now seeing it from this view, because they did definitely have this on Wildfire where it turned the other way, but you kind of come out of the station with a little drop and get into the lift hill, and there's kind of a little walkway over it. So that's always kind of cool. I remember there's somebody who screamed like crazy on that part, and it was like, you're going to be screaming a lot on this ride. Looks like that's not meant to be there, but all good. Ooh. Almost got stuck.
Yeah, another thing, can you turn around and... Oh, I guess you can't go off the path, huh?
No.
Well, it looks like the creator did add some those wooden beams underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So just a nice sort of addition to make your elevated path look like it has some more support.
Yeah, and look realistic instead of the awful single support that they make. But I love, like we were talking about this before on another park review that we did where I can't remember if it's been posted at this point or not, but you're not covering the entire path with bushes. You're kind of doing some parts of it, and you're making it scattered, which is realistic, right? So that's well done. Once again, I mean, you're using the multi-themed or I don't know what's the term for it. Basically, different wood building pieces for the same building. So you're keeping kind of the theme throughout, just changing up colors here and there. So that's not necessarily something that I would think to use, but I think it works for this style park.
Yeah,
sure.
It does.
So if we go over here, I guess this is, see if we missed anything. So same thing over here. Looks like we got some coffee. I like how you've got the overhang too.
Yep.
That's nice. Oh, look at this little bridge.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, this little tunnel, and so I'm guessing this is the bridge that goes over the lake a little bit, or the creek. Yeah, so this is the area we just came from, but we went another way around. So there's kind of the flat ride. Is that the kickflip?
No, that's the Insanity.
Insanity, that's it. Yeah, and also make note if there's any part of the park you want me to go look at the end when we go back to the overview to get an aerial view of, just in case. Because since we're in flip cam view, we can't really exit off of it, Let's continue through the park. And, I mean, to me, honestly, I know this... it's not a perfect park, just like no park's perfect. We all have areas we can improve. But this is one of my favorite parks I've seen in the game, simply because, and it may be recency bias, but going to Silver Dollar City, this just reminds me of it so much.
It may be what?
I said recency bias.
Recency bias?
Meaning we went to Silver Dollar City recently. That's the most recent theme park I've been to, so it's on my mind. So
Recency. That's not a word, babe.
Recency bias, yeah.
Recency.
I know it's not a word, but people use that term. Even if it's not a word, people still use the term recency bias.
Okay. Never heard of that. But
yeah,
okay.
I like the little bridge right there. It's a shame that we have clipping sometimes, but I think that's really well done for that train track. Let's see. Okay, so there's a flat ride. Yeah, and then another thing, too, that gets annoying is trying to do pass up hills, because sometimes it doesn't flatten the terrain properly. Like, you get these awkward little bumps. But, I mean, really good job. I mean, the terrain work in here is pretty incredible. And I'll try to kind of show some shots of that at the end, because there's a lot of elevation changes, which is really cool. That's a pretty steep hill to climb, though.
Well, I do remember being at Silver Dollar City, and they had some steep climbs.
For sure.
On the path. And anyway.
How about that sign? That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I do like that.
Canyon Runner. So let's go. My gosh, what's up with these people having to use the restroom and then getting in line for a ride? Like, they both have to go potty, but yet you're going to have to wait for the ride. Alright, so let's get up here to the station for Canyon Runner. I mean, already good views. You're pretty high up. I mean, that's pretty cool looking right there. How far you've already walked up to get to the station. And then what's cool, too, is the station's not that high off the ground compared to how far the elevation has changed since you entered the queue. So let's ride Canyon Runner. All right, so before we get started on this one, I paused it so we don't miss any of it. Let's look at the stats. Open up testing. This one's based, in my opinion, off of oh gosh, what's the name of it?
Outlaw Run.
Outlaw Run. Oh, you remember and I didn't. Look at that. Outlaw Run, and probably a mixture of Outlaw Run and gosh, the one at Dollywood that launches you. Even though this one isn't a launch, I forget the name of it. It's just got some kind of concepts from both of them. Number of inversions 3, which is how much Outlaw Run has. A lot of air time. Look at the biggest drop, 151 feet. Vertical G is a little high, but overall, I mean, max speed 73 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and get started on this ride. You look scared. A little nervous. Alright, so right away, what kind of caught me was how cool this first drop is.
Oh, that is cool.
It's kind of hard to tell to notice when you're on the ride, but I mean, now this turnaround thing is not really, that's not from any of those two coasters, but you kind of...
you have a big drop like that off
yeah,
the hill?
Yeah, you do. So like Outlaw Run has a little dip, and then you come back up, and then you just really fast go over this hill. And so one thing that's cool about the Silver Dollar City Parks is it's not as extreme as this one, but like... Outlaw Run, Wildfire, and actually all 4 of their main coasters, their biggest drop is larger than how many feet it is off the ground when it begins to drop. So it's kind of like they build it off of these hills, which is really cool. Like if I'm remembering correctly, Outlaw Run's like 120 feet off the ground when you're at the largest drop, and then the drop's 161 feet or something like that, right? So it's pretty cool and unique. And I love too a couple of these if I can find them. Yeah, a couple of these inversions that turned into kind of, you didn't go a full 180, right? Because you turn around and then you kind of turn into this curve. So I thought that's pretty cool. So anything stand out to you?
No, I just think this is a really cool ride. To me, it's evident how the creator really tried to make everything smooth and look like real life. So, really good job.
Yeah, I mean that first drop looks awesome. Like it looks like
that looks really cool. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I bet this took some time terraforming that to make it perfect. But I bet if this was a real life ride, you would definitely get some air time on that first hill, which is pretty cool. All right, so looking at the station, nothing too crazy, pretty basic, but it fits for the ride, right?
Yeah.
You've got the wooden post, which is nice.
Do you mind turning it on at night? I just want to see what this station looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this one, there's no lights.
There's no, that's what I was wanting to know, if there were any lights, because I couldn't see them. So, yeah, maybe add some lights in there, but otherwise I really like how this station looks.
Yeah, and that's one thing, too, when we go through parks and they're at 100% and we point out something that's missing, we have no idea if it's missing because of the counter, right? Because we're at the limit. And so that's one issue here when we have the counter is sometimes we have to pick and choose, okay, what do we...
what do you want? What do you need versus...
Right. Like, for example, I personally don't do 4-meter method, and I don't really do custom inversions that much at this point, simply because it takes up more of the counter, and I just don't feel as confident with them. Whereas some people feel like they always have to do, special inversions created by themselves, right? And so everybody's entitled to playing this game their own way. And, for me, I just try to look at how to preserve some of the Oswald counter to have a larger park, right? And so it looks like that's what this creator did too, was trying to have this massive park. And, sometimes we run into areas where we just run out of the meter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was, what was this one called again? So this was Canyon Runner. And we got 2 more coasters to look at, but look at this lake. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that's a good way to kind of use up a lot of the map too, when all of a sudden you've got some space left, right? Create this little lake, because it looks really pretty, especially when you're kind of on this ride and you can kind of see this right here. Oops, if I can.
Also, another thing about the lake, it looks like they used I don't think that's the dirty water, but it's like it might be the water that's moving. I can't remember what the different waters are.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the dirty water. I don't know, but it looks cool because normally I use like the clear water.
You're right.
But how they used it, it still looks pretty. So
yeah, for sure. Well, let's be real. Most lake water is dirty. So
it is, but like me being me, I like the clear blue water.
Yeah.
And but I like how that looks.
Yeah, and then look at this too, kind of seeing the side and the canyon, and really, really pretty, really well done. All right, so let's move on to the next part. This is another cool thing too, kind of walking underneath the track here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really well done. Once again, foliage well done. Anything else standing out to you?
No, not at the moment.
So it looks like this is a dead end area of the park, so kind of like a destination area. So we got a lot of the same theme going, just kind of changed up where you have the different building pieces. And that trim you kind of used on the outside, you could use that kind of going across where the 2 different building pieces meet, to kind of distinguish the 2 of them. That's just me though. So it looks like here's another train station. So now we're going back where we came from. This does kind of remind me of where Outlaw Run is, because Outlaw Run's kind of in its own section, right? Like,
yeah, it was a dead end.
But it's weird because you got a big sign for the barn swing, and then there's a small sign for Outlaw Run. So it's like, I don't know, it just kind of was weird to me. But yeah, so now let's go this way. So I can see another coaster right there. Yeah, these elevation changes are just awesome. And another thing too that I'll point out at the end is if you look at this park from above, it looks like it's got way too many trees. But when you're actually in the park, like, it looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing is we sometimes get too caught up on, yeah, that's another train stop. We get so caught up on how it looks from the aerial view, when really the idea is to create a park for guests, right? So we need to figure out how does it look at guest point of view. And so this is kind of a cool little bridge area. You can see a little bit of the ride.
Yeah.
Sorry if it lags at any point. Oh, entertainers. I never think to use entertainers. Alright, I do like how you've got some of the awkward slanting here, because you see that a lot in theme parks where you got the cement kind of slanted a little bit. So really cool. That looks like the exit. So what's this one called? This is Halcone. I said Halcon, and Jasmine corrected me on that.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. So yeah, we got a nice little
This is the powder keg one.
yeah, this is one that, yeah.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and pause this real quick because I believe this is a launch. So let's look at the testing data real quick. So I want to try to do a better job of that, of showing results. Max speed, good. Biggest drop, 68 feet. So this is more based on the launch component of it and inversions. G-forces look good. 3 inversions, 2 airtime count. All right, so let's enjoy the ride.
Is this based off of the one at Silver Dollar City, that launch one?
No, yeah, that one's not a wing coaster, but I'll talk about that once the ride is done.
But it is a launch one.
This one is, yes, that is true. All right, so there is a wing coaster at Dollywood, but it's not a launched wing coaster. So I think you're actually right, Jasmine, when you said that one at Silver Dollar City. It's not the exact type of ride because that's an S&S launch coaster. But this one, just with how the path is right here, it looks to me like they got some inspiration from that, right?
Yeah.
Where you can stand here and watch the launch. And so I believe, too, we didn't really see it because of...
I mean, the building looks very similar to me.
Yeah, to Powder Keg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good pickup. I didn't think about that one right away just because it's a different type of coaster, but since it's a launch, that's good. I think this is a custom version, which is nice. Only thing I'd say is you could maybe extend it a little bit since it's right after the launch. That might be a little bit quick of a whip for a quick inversion like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, I also really like this area when all of a sudden you kind of just go over this little creek. I think that's really just kind of adds once again to the fact that it's like we're in a massive, like a forest, So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I rarely ever make the wing coasters, but whenever I see them, I'm like, they always look really pretty to me, like with the wings and just the turns and stuff. I think this might be my favorite out of the coasters so far.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't really tell you why. I just really like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, wing coasters are really pretty. They're so tough to make though, because since you are sitting on a wing, it is very tough to get smooth, just because you're dangling on the side, right? So there's like a fine line in how to bank the ride and so forth. Which I'm not very good at creating these. Oh, there's some smoke right there.
So it is supposed to be like powder keg. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess since we were front bumper view, we didn't really see the smoke in the launch.
Yeah.
So let's see how this looks once another ride begins to launch.
So on the real powder keg in Silver Dollar City, before the launch, there's like a little thing that pops up. Cool. Out of the building, and it's like a little burst of fire, and then the launch goes.
Yeah.
So I really like how they did that with the smoke.
Yeah, I think this is probably the smoothest coaster so far that's been made. It's not my favorite. The RMC is probably my favorite, but this one is awesome. I mean, all the coasters have been really great.
Which one is the RMC for viewers who don't know what you're referring to when you say RMC? What are you referring to?
Yeah, so when I say RMC, that's the name of the company, Rocky Mountain Construction, and they make these hybrid type coasters, these wooden coasters with the steel. There's a couple different types. There's like iBox track and topper track. I think I've got that right. Please, somebody correct me. Ted, if you're watching this, I know you know all the details on this, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But they bake these wooden coasters with steel track, which allows them to do inversions along with overbank turns.
Okay.
So when I say RMC, or when you hear somebody reference RMC, that just is the name of the company. Just like when we say B&M, that's talking about the Bollinger Mabillard.
That's not talking about bowel movements.
No.
That is literally what I think about every time you say B&M.
Bowel? Why would you? That's
because
funny.
Because people say BM for bowel movement, so that is what I think about.
I've never heard anybody say BM for bowel movements, but I gotcha. That's just funny that you're the one that thinks about that instead of me. But all right, so enough about bowel movements. Moving on. Now this is really cool too. You've got some really good views here, right as you exit the ride, where you can kind of just stand here and watch the train go by. Because it's about to come over this 0G roll in just a second. But yeah, this is visually a really, really cool area to stand in the park. So you got that. Woo. Yeah. And then once again, you got an exit that goes kind of either underneath or over the ride, which I think is cool. Oh, you got a dual exit here, dual path options.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, something unique. I normally don't think to do something like that on an exit to a ride. But that's cool. Yeah, so it looks like we got one more coaster, and it's going to be the Runaway Mine Train. So, is there anything else standing out to you, or?
No.
Alright, so it looks like not too many people are riding this ride right now, which I guess is typical of mine train rides at most theme parks. So let's ride the mine train. Alright guys, so we're definitely going to ride this one in front bumper mode. Is this a mine train coaster? This is like Thunderation, your favorite.
Yeah, my favorite ride that will give me a headache for hours after.
Which is funny because this is actually one of the smoother mine train rides. But it still throws you around. Alright, so enjoy the ride.
Oh.
Alright, so what made you say, ooh?
I really like the station. I like how, I think that might be my favorite station.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. The only thing I'd say is you could have a beam going across from here to here.
Okay.
To give it that support type thing, because this one normally would come down to the ground, but you can't because of the station.
Coaster.
So you could just take the same beam and just have it going across.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But yeah, so did this look like you would like this any more than the actual Thunderation at Silver Dollar City?
Well, I think it's a very good recreation because I do remember there were two different chain hill things, and I remember on the second one, I was like, "Is there gonna be a big drop after this?" And then there isn't, but like it makes it seem like there's gonna be another one, but there isn't, and then you kind of turn and anyway. But yeah, good job on that.
Yeah, for sure. Only thing I'd say, I think you've got 3 trains running. I personally would do 2. Are there 3 trains running? Okay, actually, you know what? This might be working okay now since... yeah, I think it all depends on how many people are in line for the ride. You just won't want trains to get backed up. So we've got 1 train there. 2, 3. Yeah, so maybe it works out well with how you've got your... block section stacked up in terms of a lift chain represents a block section. Now the only other thing too is, are those drive tires? Okay, that's fine, drive tires. These people have told me that you don't really put brakes around, well, not at the end, but you don't put brakes around turns. So I was seeing if those were brakes or drive tires. But those are drive tires to make sure that if it does have to stop on this block section, that the train can actually get moved around.
Also, good job having the train ride next to this train coaster, mine train coaster.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, one thing that's really cool about all these, it's not just this ride, so Runaway Mine Train, is, you know, I mean, I love seeing, like I said, path interaction, I love it, but it is also really cool to see a park that is so focused on hiding the rides from the guests. Alright, so now that we've ridden all the coasters, we still have just a little bit in the park to walk. But which one was your favorite?
I think my favorite was the powder keg inspired one. But the wildfire inspired one also was a close second.
Yeah, and so let's walk around the rest of the park. Shouldn't take too long, but I really like this area here too. This is really cool. I can kind of see the launch and stuff, and so I totally see the powder keg inspiration there, even though it's not an S&S launch. It's S&S is the name of the American company that makes coasters. I forget what the S&S actually stands for, but it's a B&M wing coaster instead, because I think B&M is the only one that makes wing coasters. I could be wrong on that though. But yeah, so we're just finishing out this area. Oh, that's kind of cool. You get some more visuals of the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this will take us back to the entrance, and then we can kind of do an aerial view of the park and look at where the mine train goes. So we got some bathrooms, walkway up there.
I'm totally lost. I can't tell where we are at all.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the cool things. Oh, see, now we're back at the entrance.
Okay.
So let's let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we can kind of visually see this. So when you see this from above, it looks jumbled, right, in terms of all the trees. But as hopefully you're noticing when you're down at ground level, like it is just really cool because that's how like Silver Dollar City looks like. Like you can't see anything because there are so many trees. So we kind of started out going this way. There's that what do you say it's called, Insanity. You've got the wildfire inspired ride. You've got your canyon runner ride. You got your lake over here. And yeah, so then we walked around this way, and we walked back here. I think this is the one area we didn't walk around.
Yeah, because I would have noticed that chair swing or whatever it is.
Oh, did we miss something?
Well, the chair, yeah. Oh, I guess we haven't done that.
Oh, there's one coaster. Okay, we actually missed a coaster, so we'll go ahead and ride that right now. I really apologize. I thought we'd ridden everything, but we missed a coaster. I'm so glad I went and saw that. But yeah, this is right up your alley with how they did this. Even though it's a little different than your style, you got to appreciate how they did this. Flowers and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of scenery.
Yeah. So let's ride this one coaster real quick, and then we will get some final thoughts.
Are we going to go through the queue line?
Yeah, let's do that. Sorry. Totally.
I can't see you. Venom, okay.
So my guess is this looks like it's a Vekoma or an Aero coaster, one of the two. So my guess would be this is going to be based off of Tornado at Dollywood. Haven't ridden it, but I've seen the...
Oh, I like this station.
Yeah, this station's cool. I like the cross beams that you chose. Really good job there.
Oh, are they... Oh, it's broken down.
It's broken down. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to fast forward to the mechanic gets here, and then we'll ride the ride.
What did you think of that one?
There are a couple of areas I think need to be smoothed out a little bit.
Yeah.
But how cool was this first hill when you're going down it, and you just kind of see all these rolling hills out in the distance.
Yeah.
I thought the visuals on this were really cool, and especially since on that first hill you're kind of inching down it, so it takes a little bit, and then the whole time you're just out in these woods. And once again, really secluded ride, which is really cool. What are your thoughts?
I did like it. I think, did it seem too fast to you on the end? I don't know. Maybe that was just me.
Yeah, maybe. It seemed like a couple of the turns need to be smoothed out just a little bit. Like here, you can kind of tell. And so I think that would have helped it a little bit because it kind of shook it a little bit.
But I'm not familiar with the tornado ride, so I'm not sure like how what that one is like to compare to this recreation.
Now I will say these types of rides normally in real life are headbangers. They're not the smoothest. At least a couple of years ago, when a lot of them, before some of them got retracked and different things. But yeah, so one last thing I wanted to do while we're giving our final thoughts is, I know we've already seen the lake. I want to kind of look at a little bit of where the train track goes. Is just to kind of see the visual here. I mean, this is just really, really well done with the terrain. Yeah, so overall, what are your thoughts of this park?
I really liked it. This is not a park that I've seen before, and even though it is very themed, I haven't seen anything that's been quite like this before. So this is really unique. I think this creator is definitely really talented, and I really like just how the sightlines are. There's a lot of path interaction. All of the coasters seem like they were really well done, and those are things that I'm trying to learn to do, and so this seems like a good park for me to kind of look at and see, like, how did they do this? How do they do this? And try to use that as inspiration for anything that I'm working on. And also the water and the scenery, everything is just really well done. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these little canals or rivers, not really canals, but you know what I mean. These little creeks. Yeah, a little creek. I just think it's really cool how they incorporated this. I mean, you're just going along. I mean, it's just really it really does feel like Silver Dollar City.
Yeah, it does seem very realistic to me.
Yeah, and so that's why, as I said before, that's why this is one of my favorite parks that I've seen in the game. And that's not trying to say that this is the best. The best park is just, to me, it stands out a lot because of how much I really enjoy going to Silver Dollar City, and how much this reminds me of it in terms of they kind of grasp that whole theme. Like you said, it is heavily themed. But when I say heavily themed, it's not themed in the way that most people think of it in terms of theme and rides or anything like that. It's just, it's themed to the idea of a
nature themed.
Nature themed, yeah. And as you can see, again, didn't really use the green terrain paint at all, right?
Right, yeah.
For grass, you use this kind of dead grass area, which makes sense because it is heavily covered with trees, so it's not getting sunlight. So yeah, make sure, guys, to go onto the workshop and download this creator's content and rate it. Look at any other creations that this creator has made. And as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel if you enjoy the content, and hit that like button on this video. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.